Hi students, Miss Jarvis here. Today we're going to talk about reflections on a coordinate plane. Okay, if you are practicing solving reflections on a coordinate plane, there are a few things that you need to start by remembering. The coordinate plane makes a C for coordinate plane. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. That will help you to always remember the correct order. Now, if you're asked a question like, what is the coordinates, or what are the coordinates for point A? Okay, here's point A. The coordinates are over 3 and up 2. So right here, I'm going to write positive 3, positive 2. Now, I'm prompted to reflect A across the y-axis. Okay, here's my y-axis. Goes straight up and down. If I were to reflect it across the y-axis and just hop over the y-axis, I'm going to end up in quadrant number 2. Now, you may remember that quadrant 1 is positive and positive. Quadrant 2, all of the coordinates will be negative and then positive. In quadrant 3, all of the coordinates will be negative and then negative. And in quadrant 4, all of the coordinates will be positive and then negative. So, if I know I'm reflecting A across the y-axis and I hop, boop, over the y-axis, I'm ending up in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is going to be a negative and then a positive. So, I can use these same numbers, except now they will become negative and positive. Let's check and see if that's true. Negative 3, positive 2. Is this a reflection of A original? Yes, it is. It's my A prime. A prime is a reflection of A original over the y-axis. You can see the y-axis in between. Okay, let's try the next one. Point B is going to be reflected across the x-axis. Point B is located at negative 5, negative 3. So I'm going to write down at the original points. Reflect B across the x-axis. Okay, so B is going to be reflected across my x-axis. So it's going to jump over this axis. So when B jumps over, boop, it ends up in quadrant 2. As I mentioned before, quadrant 2 is going to be a negative, positive. So I take the same values, except this time they will be negative and positive. Let's test it out and make sure that's true. Negative 5, positive 2. Negative 5, positive 3 is what it was. Now, this should be a reflection. B prime. Let's test it out and see. 1, 2, 3. This is 3 away from the x-axis. 1, 2, 3. This is also 3 away. So, it is a true reflection across the x-axis. Okay, now, what about when it gets a little bit more complicated? We're going to take point C and reflect it across the x-axis first and then over the y-axis. Let's start by writing down where C is located. C is located at 4, negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to first reflect across the x-axis. Here's my x-axis. That means if he hops over, boop, he ends up in quadrant 1. I know that quadrant 1 is positive. So I'm going to take these same numbers except make them positive. Let's go ahead and plot it and see how it turns out. Over 4 up 3. Okay, so here's my C prime. There's my reflection across my x-axis. Now it mentions that I should reflect it across the y-axis. So I'm going to take this number and reflect it, boop, across the y-axis, hopping right over this y-axis. That's going to place me in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is negative, and then it's positive. So my first value will be negative, my second will be positive. -4, +3. Let's go ahead and see where that ends up. -4, +3. Does that look about right? Yes, it does. Great job, students. And if you have any other questions about reflections on a coordinate plane, feel free to ask your teacher. Don't give up. You can do it.